Early last year, I wandered into my local dealership with a glimmer in my eye and dreams to conquer the gnarliest trails in southeast Queensland, with what was pitched to me as the perfect beginner bike, the Kawasaki KLR 650. However, my dreams were dashed like a deformed farm kitten once I realised the KLR was not the best bike for the kind of riding I wanted to do. Its unwieldy weight made me hesitant to step out of my comfort zone and hindered my ability to learn. So with a heavy heart, I sold it and set out to find something lighter and more confidence-inspiring. This led me to the PR7. Since its concept reveal in 2014 and first release in 2017, the PR7 has kind of flown under the radar, but recently more and more people are noticing its impressive credentials and performance. It's a rally-inspired beast, built to handle serious off-road terrain, so stay tuned while I share my experience of the first 4,000 kilometers of owning an AJP PR7. For those less familiar with the PR7, it's a purpose-built machine with rally DNA, designed to thrive in rough, enduro-style terrain while still feeling incredibly comfortable in the highway. Although it's marketed as the PR7 and labelled as a 650, it's actually a 600cc, liquid-cooled, fuel-injected, dual-overhead cam, single-cylinder engine. The naming disparity likely comes from AJP originally planning to use the Minarelli 660cc engine, but opting for the lighter SWM/Husky 600 instead. It's got a 6-speed transmission and produces 48 horsepower in its LAMS approved stock configuration. But if you opt for the Doma power up, you can push that to 58 horsepower. The Doma kit will set you back roughly 1,500 Australian dollars. As a novice adventure rider, I've very little mechanical experience and I'm fairly new to adventure riding. I'm not here to pretend I'm some expert, but I can speak to how the PR7 inspires confidence and has made it easier for me to develop my skills quicker. While I'm no pro and would be making a fool of myself if I tried to talk about the advanced technical characteristics of the bike, I'm making this video for the people like myself who don't intend to ride Dakar or be Paul Tares on a T7. The reason the PR7 caught my eye is that it's a bike that doesn't require a ton of mechanical experience or aftermarket upgrades to be a serious contender in the surprisingly underrepresented lightweight mid-power adventure bike category. Now, no bike is perfect. The PR7 does have some drawbacks. I'll start with these, though I encourage you to stick around for the pros afterwards, as they really do outweigh the cons. Firstly, due to the brand being relatively small, there is a limited aftermarket accessory pool. But as interest grows and more dealers are popping up, I'm beginning to see this improve. Some brands and motivated PR7 owners have begun to start populating the market with custom parts and accessories. Another thing is the throttle response. It's a bit snatchy. It's not really a problem off-road, but it can be annoying in start and stop traffic. This is a small gripe and has been easily resolved by others with some minor remediation work. Also, it's worth noting the turning circle isn't the best. U-turns can be tricky in tight spaces, especially when compared to other adventure bikes. It's not really an issue, but something to keep in mind if you're navigating tight turns a lot. Next is the tablet. While conceptually good, it's a bit gimmicky and tedious. To really get the most out of it, you'll need to buy the onboard diagnostic sensor that connects the engine to the tablet via the OBD port underneath the tower. This is sold separately and can be picked up from Amazon. I recommend the OBD Link LX OBD2 as it has an auto power off feature to avoid draining battery when the bike is switched off. So while it looks great on paper, it's not as useful right out of the box as you would assume. It utilises Android-based, customizable DMD software to provide GPX navigation and basic Android functionality, which extends to engine statistics when using the OBD sensor. Given the tablet is a standard Android system, it has a lot of customizability options, so riders have the flexibility to extend its usage and get more out of it with a little playing around. It's worth noting the bike also has a USB port underneath the tablet for charging devices on the go. Due to how thin the bike is and the location of the fuel tank, the exhaust is punched out to the side and is vulnerable to damage. Additionally, it's worth noting that the Doma exhaust with the powered up configuration is a smaller profile, but is also incredibly loud. Seems to be a common talking point among PR7 owners. Could be a good thing if you like to hear your exhaust, but a bad thing if you like your neighbours. I still personally run the GPR stock exhaust as I don't yet feel the need for the extra power and do in fact like my neighbours. Like other enduro style bikes, the bike is tall. The seat height is 920mm, which takes some getting used to. However, personally at a height of somewhere between 5'9" and 5'10", the height doesn't really bother me at all. If this is a deal breaker for you, then it's worth noting a lowering link is available. The upside to the tall seat is the fact that it has 310mm of ground clearance, which is more than enough to get you through some pretty sketchy terrain. If you're someone who likes tons of added technology, then you may be disappointed. The bike has electronic fuel injection, but that's about it. It doesn't have any ABS, and without the aftermarket OBD sensor, the tablet becomes just a glorified GPS. It's a bare bones platform that goes all in function and leaves out the farkles. But if you're an old boy that enjoys having less technology to brake, or sees ABS as a liability off-road, then you may see this more as a pro than as a con. Additionally, the low fuel indicator and fuel gauge on the instrument panel are unreliable at best and completely wrong at worst. You get around 300 plus kilometers on a tank, so a workaround for this is just resetting your trip meter each refuel or using the DMD fuel gauge on the tablet to track your mileage. I'd be remiss not to mention that the earlier models of PR7 had some major issues, such as ECU related cold start, fuel pump, and suspension problems. AJP was quick to rectify these problems for models after 2020, but it's something to be aware of if you're looking at older used models. I own a 2023 and have had no issues so far. Now that that's out of the way, let's look into why I really love this bike. At 165 kilograms wet, the PR7 is incredibly light for an adventure bike of its size. This makes it incredibly nimble off-road and provides more efficient power than a heavier counterpart. As a small guy who weighs roughly 70 kilos, I feel like the weight of the bike doesn't detract from the riding experience, unlike the KLR. I don't have to be scared of dropping it in an awkward spot and not being able to recover it when riding alone. Additionally, due to the Acervis 17-litre fuel tank being below the seat, the bike has a low centre of gravity, similarly to the Husky 701 or the KTM 690. Unlike these, however, the PR7 fuel filler cap is at the front of the bike, so luggage does not need to be removed to refuel. An unfortunate side effect of this is, fuel can be bottlenecked by the filler channel, causing backflow which can lead to fuel spilling out from the filler cap. It's tedious, but slowing down when pumping fuel resolves the problem. The low centre of gravity with the lightweight makes it ideal for riders that are still developing their skills, or for seasoned riders that wanted the benefits of an enduro bike with all the adventure bike features. I've had many experiences where I've lost control and managed to stay upright when another bike like the KLR would have washed out and thrown me to the ground. A secondary benefit of the below seat fuel tank is, like other enduro style bikes, it's incredibly thin at the cockpit, allowing the rider to adopt a very comfortable attack or standing position without being impeded by a traditionally located fuel tank. Another large plus is how mechanically easy the bike is to work on. There's minimal fairings and everything is easily accessible. This lets me do basic maintenance, whether in the workshop or out in the bush, without having to pull the entire bike apart. Now, as much as I love riding off-road, I find myself doing a lot of highway and commuting kilometres. So when looking for a replacement for the KLR, I wanted something that could sit at 110 km an hour comfortably. The PR7 is surprisingly good on highways, with 6 gears, a comfortable seat, and smooth engine performance at high speeds. While it's no Tenere 700, it feels incredibly smooth, and I wouldn't be uncomfortable doing hundreds of highway kilometres in one go. A big concern I hear from people is the fact that it's still a very little known brand, and skepticism around reliability is at the forefront of people's minds. This is a completely valid concern. However, the engine has been around for a long time and was used in the Husqvarna TE630 and SWM RS650, where it gained a reputation of being very reliable and also provides plenty of grunt. The bike comes off the shelf with many premium must-have features that other bikes don't often have, such as full handguards, comfortable rally seat, performance suspension and brakes, premium tyres, rally tower, and a crash plate. Although I'll admit I'm a bit dubious about the crash plate, as it's held on by a clip and a single M8 bolt. And although the stock tyres are great as aggressive off-road tyres, I've opted to switch that out for the Motar's Rail Z rear and Midas Enduro XT front for more traction on wet bitumen. One of my favourite features of the PR7 is the high air box. Mounted where a traditional fuel tank would be, this makes it much harder to drown if dropped during a water crossing and brings me great peace of mind. In my opinion, all of these features outweigh the few small quirks that the PR7 has, and makes the PR7 almost uncontested in value when compared to the few bikes that it competes with. As you can see, the bike is incredibly capable off of the shelf. However, it does have an exposed radiator and a pretty average paper filter in the airbox. I'd suggest at a minimum installing the ADV Engineering radiator guard as well as the funnel web pre-filter as extra insurance. I'll link these below, however I plan on making a video in the near future outlining these modifications as well as some extra quality of life changes that I've made. While there are other alternatives such as the Suzuki DR650, KTM 690 or Husky 701, when looking into these, I found all of them lacking features that were crucial to me, whether it be the lack of EFI in the case of the Suzuki, or lack of adventure fairings for long highway rides on all of them. Extra money and time would need to be invested to get them up to the standard the PR7 is off the shelf. The only bikes that I can see that seem to be on a similar page are the budget-friendly SWM Super Dual X and Cove Rally platforms, though I'm not familiar enough with these to comment. If you want something with all the adventure features that you can pick up and take anywhere without putting hours of work and thousands of extra dollars into, the PR7 is almost unmatched. However, if you're looking for a bike with extensive aftermarket support or something that will rarely leave the bitumen, the PR7 might not be the best fit. It's a rally-inspired, no-nonsense bike that thrives off-road, and while it's got some quirks, its performance, reliability and capability make it a great choice. That being said, everyone rides a different ride. Evaluate what you want from your bike, and do your own research. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask away. I personally love the bike and have full faith that it will rapidly grow its fan base. I just hope AJP can keep up with manufacturing demand as they get more popular. So, are you considering the PR7? How do you think it compares to its competitors? Let me know down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe or recommend any improvements. I've linked a list of dealers in Australia in the description for price and availability inquiries for anyone who's interested. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the trails.